So for the clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Andy Medford.
Here.
Andy Medford is here. Jerry Ford. Jerry Ford is absent. Paul Forstein.
Present.
Paul Forstein is here. Babak Raskafard.
Here.
Babak Raskafard is here. Ryan Schumacher. Ryan Schumacher is absent. Maggie McCall. Maggie McCall is absent. Mark Kobos.
Here.
Mark Kobos is here. And with 4 members and 1 alternate, with 3 members. Oh, I apologize. 4 members are present, so we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this time, can we have a motion on approval of the minutes for January 17th?
I move that the minutes from January 17th, 2018 be approved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, can we have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we would like to take any public comment for items that are not on the agenda. If there's any public comment for items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on. At this time, we'll take up the public hearing for Missoula County Big Sky Park. If we can have a staff report, please.
Lauren Miller, Community and Planning Services. The applicant for the proposal is Missoula County Parks, Trails, and Open Lands. The request is to provide notice and allow the public to comment through a public forum on the Missoula County Parks, Trails, and Open Lands Big Sky Park sponsorship sign proposal to vary from Missoula County zoning regulations, section 3.04E. These signs are considered off-premise since they are not associated with the activity on the lot where it is located. 3.04E states off-premise signs are only permitted within commercial and industrial zones. Big Sky Park is zone CP1, public lands and institutions. The park is located at 3201 Spurgeon Road. Big Sky Park includes the baseball fields and also the equestrian park that you see there at the bottom. The property, like I said, is zoned CP1. The surrounding properties are zoned residential and public lands and institutions. Missoula County Parks, Trails, and Open Lands intends on allowing their lessees to display sponsorship signs at Big Sky County Park at their respective sites as a reliable fundraiser to cover maintenance expenses. I included a couple photos of the park here, a couple photos of the baseball fields, another photo of the entrance into the baseball field, and the bottom is the Missoula Equestrian Park. Notice was sent to agencies and adjacent property owners, and we did not receive any comments back. As a public agency, Missoula County Parks, Trails, and Open Lands is allowed to vary from the zoning resolution. The Board of Adjustments is unable to approve, conditionally approve, or deny the proposal. A subsequent public hearing will be held before the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the final sponsorship sign policy. And this concludes my staff report for the Big Sky Park Forum.
Thank you. That's a great report. So at this time, we would open it up to comments regarding this proposal. So is there anyone with any comments on the proposal?
John, I think there's a button you need to turn it on. There you go. It should turn green. Oh, yay. There you go.
You can give him one of these.
Hello? Okay. Do I need to restate for the record or anything? John Stegmeyer, Missoula County Parks, Trails, Open Lands Program. Yeah, the presentation was comprehensive, and again, this is public forum, so there's not a whole lot of, there really is no decision making, but I'll just say the essence of this is to work with our park partners out at Big Sky Park who we have formal agreements with. So this would only apply, those that would have sponsorship signs would only be our official park partners. So the West Side Little League would be one, the Missoula Horsemen's Council and the equestrian facility. We're in the process of developing an archery range at the park as well, and they might also have sponsorship signs. So that's I guess the driving force is being able to give these organizations an ability to have revenue. Otherwise, the policy that Lauren provided you earlier is something that we tried to do in advance of this forum and as well as the commissioner hearing so that folks like yourself and the community in general would have a sense for what what signs might look like and what the parameters are around it. So yeah, otherwise, any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much, John.
Sure.
Hello. Did you turn this off, John? No, it's still on. Hi, I'm Bill Dahlgren. I'm a member of Westside Little League. I'm also the president of the Big Sky Park Stewardship Committee, which oversees the maintenance and development of the park out there at Big Sky Park. I'm also on the Parks and Trails Advisory Board. I cannot speak on behalf of the Parks and Trails Advisory Board, but I can speak on behalf of Westside Little League, the Big Sky Park Stewardship Committee, and as a neighbor to the park. And what we're trying to do here is stated, is to have a controlled and consistent funding mechanism to fund the development and maintenance of those parks out there, which are largely done without taxpayer dollars. It's all volunteer work and fundraising out there. It's a practice that's been in place for years, but due to more recent inquiries, we found out that we were in violation, and we're just looking for a route to get to the point where we can get back to what we've been doing for decades and supporting our activities through those advertising signs. The lack of comment may be a reflection of the lack of opposition, but I speak on behalf of those groups that I mentioned earlier in favor of the support of this. And I know Jamie and her family spent a ton of time out there, grew up in the neighborhood, and they did a lot of volunteer time and know the importance of the park to the community. So if you got any questions, I'm available for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing at this time. Okay, moving onward. Is there any old business that we need to? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that per request of the commissioners, they wanted to make sure, since the forum doesn't really have any pending decision on whether or not the policy was adopted, they have required that we hold a public hearing on March 22nd here in this room from 2 to 5 p.m. in case members of the public or anyone has comment, they will adopt the policy and make a decision at that time.
Thanks, John, for the clarification on that. Okay, so we'll close the hearing, and at this time, we'll go ahead with some old business. Jamie, do you have anything?
No old business. I have new business once we get to that.
Well, we'll go to new business then.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. So what I just handed you is a copy of the current bylaws. That's the first one. And then I've finally gotten to do an amendment to the bylaws. So there's an underlined strikeout, which is the second copy. And then there is a clean version of what that would look like if it was not an underlined strikeout form. So if we can real quickly go through the underlined strikeout, and I'll just highlight some areas for you. The first page here, this is pretty minor amendments, changing zoning resolution to zoning regulations, adding community and planning services. On the second page here, again, nothing really major until we get down to this membership section. And in this, we've done a new section for term limits. We have kind of looked towards the planning board bylaws as to how they operate. The bylaws that you currently have are fairly old, out of date, don't have much on membership, turnover, things like that. So still serve the same 2-year terms because that's required in state law. And then we also talk about staggering terms so that they don't all expire December 31st of, the same year. So looking to include some of that language. The top part of page 3, you'll see number 2 there, and that says members may serve no more than 4 consecutive 2-year terms. That's something new. Again, that's something that planning board has in their bylaws. We thought we'd throw it out there, see how the board feels about that. Is that a good idea? Is that something we should do longer than 4 2-year terms? Definitely think about that. There's nothing written in state law about it, so we do have the flexibility to amend that if we would like to. The next new section is regarding resignations, expiration of terms, and terminations. This, again, is just something that the current bylaws are lacking, talking just about what happens when somebody resigns. I think in common practice, we've operated this way, so I felt that this was going to be satisfactory. However, again, take a look through it. If there's language that you disagree with, please let me know, and we can talk about it at the next meeting. And then there's some of these sections that you're just going to see that are restructured, moving officers' chairs and duties and everything all into one section versus all over the place, how it was kind of just scattered before. Changing what used to be president to chair. So that's just general practice throughout the county is to have chairs versus president and vice president terms. This next page, nothing big here until we get down to open meetings. We added this section just with regards to the open meeting laws in state law. Basically, all of our public meetings are open to the public, so you have to know that. If there's any time that you talk as board members that may be considered a quorum, that needs to be reported. So all of that language is going to be in here. Voting is somewhat of a new section. We've kind of restructured that, but also added to it. Big things that we've added to it is that when the board deviates from staff's recommendation, the board motion shall include findings of fact for the reason of their vote. That was something that we've talked about a couple meetings before, making sure that that's very clear why the deviation from staff decision was made. And if you want to add more to that, feel free to make suggestions. Under conflict of interest, we added just one more bullet point that if there may be a conflict of interest, if the immediate family member with a financial or property interest in the matter under consideration by the board. So say Mark's brother is bringing forward something, he should probably withdraw his vote for that night. Again, this is more restructuring on this next page. Here, you'll see basically that the order of business is struck. It's just reorganized here and then also added in a committee reports section. Committee reports is if somebody's on a committee and they're reporting back to this board. So say like we set up a board of, or we set up a special board to take comments on the zoning amendments, and maybe somebody from this board sits on that, then that person could report back to this board as a committee member. just clarification on what is new business. So basically tonight, we're bringing this forward as new business. We're not voting on it tonight, so it didn't need to be mentioned on the agenda. But just again, clarifying what is new business versus what needs to be considered as part of the public hearing. Nothing much new here. I felt there were quite a few updates to what the secretary does. Before it was, the secretary was doing some of the duties that we actually do and vice versa. So there was some clarification in there. And Heather, as our secretary, she's gone through this, taken a look at it, and she feels comfortable with the changes that we're suggesting. But again, if you guys see something else that needs to be addressed, feel free to let us know. Communications, that's a new section. Again, this is addressing, if you're out in the community and you're talking about something that may be coming before the board, you need to be careful of what you're talking about. Also then report it back to this board at a public meeting. That way it's just very clear that there was no decisions made outside of the hearing. And electronic communications, we can do pollings of the board, send meeting materials, etc., but you can't hold discussions through email. And just with technology updating, we needed to make that clear in these bylaws. Staff assistance, that's just a relocated section. Again, updating on the section on findings, especially for variances. If you deviate from it, then you have to make your reason known. Nothing really new here. This section here on amendments, we didn't have anything before. Honestly, I don't know how they amended the bylaws in the past, so we have included this section here. Basically, how it will work is either you can bring proposed amendments to us as a new business item, and then we can discuss it at the next hearing, or staff, like we are today, bringing it to you, discussing it at the next hearing, voting on it, and I believe we need a majority of the voting members provided that at that quorum. So, and then once the board votes on it, then it goes before the Board of County Commissioners and they make the final decision. And that's it. So yeah, so if you guys would like to take a look at this, our next meeting is going to be in April. Come back with any feedback that you may have, thoughts, suggestions, edits. And if we can vote that night, we will. I will also send all of this out in an email and then hard copy to those members that are not here. And then after that, if we make a vote, we'll go to the commissioners with it.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds like a lot of cleanup that needed to be done.
Yes.
Andy?
I had a question, Jamie, on the current bylaws, on the amendments section. So these amendments that are proposed actually don't, per the current bylaws, get approved by the commissioners?
It's unclear. It's not, I don't see it.
It just says, it looks to me like a vote of the majority of the board approves them.
Yeah, and I don't know that that is how the commissioners would actually want to handle it.
Okay.
So
I'm just asking.
we're going on the safe side.
Okay, all right. So what you're proposing, though, is something to amend the current ones. You're proposing something more in line with what the actual proposed amendment
Correct,
says.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think this was probably, the old bylaws are probably more so paying attention to what our actions are and probably didn't say what furtherance would have to happen with the county. I mean,
Yeah,
almost everything has to go through MCC, so,
yeah.
okay. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly, I can't find any record of how it happened before, so it may have gone to the commissioners before, but I don't know.
So was there any history on when these were amended last time?
Best I can tell is the early 90s.
So it's been a while.
Been quite a while, yeah. But I think it was more recent than 76 when they were adopted, I think.
All righty. Any other new business?
Just clarification. So I'm looking at the existing bylaws. Do we vote on this next meeting or we propose it next meeting and then the meeting after? Because
We will put it on the agenda. We'll put it on the agenda, so we'll notice it. And we can have discussion and board vote if we're ready to, or we can decide to postpone that vote to the next hearing, whichever you would prefer.
subsequent to the proposal will be the public notice, not the
Correct.
proposal being introduced.
Correct. Yep.
So if there's a lot of comments on these changes, will we just get it in the staff packet for the next meeting? Or will there be additional information between now and then that we'll be able to get some feedback on any of the amendments or changes that we think need to be made in the?
How I would recommend doing it is bringing your changes to the meeting unless there's something in detail that you think that we need to talk about.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we'll discuss it in this forum, the changes that we think need
Yeah.
to be made. Okay.
And if we want to do it in two meetings, I'm fine with that too.
Okay. No, I just want to know what your thought was. If we
Yeah.
wanted to submit everything to you formally,
If you want to, you can certainly do that.
do it that way, and then, you know, or
We can
what
incorporate
the
'em.
plan was of how we were going to try and get to an end game. So in my mind, it would seem reasonable to get feedback to you and then have it published so that we could review it before the next meeting if we were
Okay.
wanting to vote on it. I don't know
Sure.
how the rest of you feel about it. What's a proper way to deal with this so it's timely, so it doesn't take, 3 or 4 months in order to get it done? Because that's the potential we could run up against if
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there's people seeing things for the first time at the next meeting in April. It might be June before we get this done, or July.
Sure. I'm fine with
Yeah, I'd
that.
like input from you guys. What do you think?
Well, that makes sense to me. I've got a couple things, maybe talking points in here that I see already, but maybe we get the conversation going and everybody's thought about how they feel about. Yeah, I mean, we would just send an email out to the group or forward them to you, Jamie, and you can circulate them.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Okay. I think, in my own opinion, I think that might be best, because that way, someone may bring up something that we haven't thought about
Okay.
or something. And I think maybe just having some ability to give you all of our ideas, and then we will,
I can put them
all
all
be able to
together.
see that, and then,
Yep.
I think it'll just happen a lot quicker.
Okay.
If we can do it that way. Are we in agreement?
No, I agree. I think that would be helpful. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, there's always a chance that we come to the hearing and additional comment, but if, like any other public comment we get on a proposal, we can come and have
Yeah, and
most
then
of it before
for
us.
all the folks that are not here tonight, they'll get that feedback and know what's going on, and then we can
Sure.
get their input too. So I think it might be just the best way to get the group to kind of get to finality on this quickly. So
Is there a certain date that you would like to see all comments to me by? Again, we won't meet
yeah,
till
let's
April.
pick a date for a goal of having them back. If you're saying you're in April,
Yeah.
so today is the 21st of February. So can we take a date of, let's say, end of March? Is that soon enough? Because we're almost, next week's the end of February, right?
Yep.
So if we could say, give everyone till the end of March for comments, and then try and get it, or I don't know what your schedule's like.
Yeah, I think that should be fine. If we have comments in by, if we can go by the 26th, would that work? March
Yep.
26th? Okay.
So everyone, just goal-wise, we'll have those scheduled to be back to Jamie by the 26th, and then we will try and take this up in April.
Okay.
If we can get some consolidation and get it handled. All right, sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
So any other staff announcements tonight?
Nope, none for me.
Okay, so I guess we are adjourned. Thank you for a very pleasant, short meeting.